everybody. Welcome into this extra special edition of Extra Time. We got Sid Lowe, we got Shaka, Hislop, and of course, as always, we have your questions. You've used the hashtag FCExtraTime on Twitter to get them to us, and there are plenty. Frank McManaman starts us off. If you could choose any 3 players in the world to be on your newly formed squad, who would you choose, taking into account current age and form? Shaka, this sounds like it's right up your alley.
Well, I think the first two kind of go without much thought, and regardless of age, Messi and Ronaldo are the best players on the planet by quite some distance. And then third, right now, I think third best player in the world is Kylian Mbappe, so he gets a nod. So I've gone with youth, and I've also got some experience in there.
Sid, who are you going with?
Well, this question is slightly problematic because he says to be on your team. Well, it depends. I mean, what does my team need? Does it need a goalkeeper? Does it need some forwards? What kind of players does it need? How long am I buying these players for? Is it to win the league this year, or is it to keep being brilliant in 10 years' time? Because obviously, if you're just, as Shaq says, if you don't even think about it and say, right, best 3 players in the world, Messi, Mbappe, Sadio Mane.
Ooh.
Okay, leaving Ronaldo out. I'll leave that for another time. Sid, can you tell us more about Luka Romero, asked Kartik, and for my purposes, can you tell me why he's not going to play for Mexico when everybody calls him the Mexican Messi?
Yeah, this is family reasons, and actually, obviously, there's still a possibility that he ends up playing for Spain. He's got Mexican and Argentinian family. He's been in Spain now for 10 years. He's at Mallorca. Obviously, there's a very strange situation with him because he's only 15, the youngest player to have ever played in the Spanish league. Of course, he can't sign a professional contract yet, so I suspect there will be a bit of a queue to his front door in the next few weeks as he gets closer and closer to that 16th birthday. I don't know a huge amount more about him, except that we saw him last night, that everyone at Mallorca thinks he's exceptionally talented, very, very clever, a very determined player. He's got a great attitude, he's very mature for his age. He's got a fantastic mullet. I mean, he looks like a footballer out of the 80s, which is wonderful. It looks like a footballer out of the 80s, and yet, you know, he wasn't even born in the 80s. I mean, it's terrifying. And everyone's very excited. Where he'll end up, I have no idea. Who he'll end up playing for, I also have no idea.
Shaka, is Courtois back to his best?
I'll be honest, Seb, I'm still a bit stunned at Seb's omission of Cristiano Ronaldo. So you'll have to give me a moment just to catch myself, gather my thoughts slightly. Okay, right. Courtois back to his best? It looks so. I mean,
good?
Considering how I think unnerved he looked when he first arrived back in Madrid, well, Real Madrid, the Bernabeu, and what we've seen of him, I thought he made a save at 0-0 yesterday against Mallorca, which showed that he is looking back to who we'd always thought he had been. So I'm going to go with yes, but that is a very short-term yes, because up to, 20 games ago, I'm not sure I would have said that.
Sid, has Ansu Fati done enough to replace Antoine Griezmann in the starting lineup in Barcelona's next game against Celta Vigo? That's coming from very, very funny, but I feel like it's coming from half of Barcelona fans too.
I don't know. I mean, am I being set up here? I mean, first of all, I've upset all the Cristiano Ronaldo fans. Now let's upset a whole load of Antoine Griezmann fans as well, so we can do that. I mean, I guess you could prepackage the question, couldn't you? Has Ansu Fati done enough, or has Griezmann done sufficiently little? You know, and obviously, look, they'll rotate, they'll play both of them between now and the end of the season, but I think one of the things that Barcelona have desperately lacked since its restart, and actually all the way through the season, is someone with the nerve and the daringness and the pace and the willingness to run at people. And Ansu has that, and even when Ansu doesn't play well, you feel like there's a little spark of life, there's something that could be about to happen, which we haven't really had from Griezmann. And I say this, by the way, as an enormous fan of Antoine Griezmann, as someone who thinks that we've massively underrated how brilliant he's been in the last 5 or 6 years in Spain, but it just isn't working in that structure at Barcelona right now. So that's the long version of the answer. The short version of the answer is yes.
Shaka, should Sergio Ramos be considered for Ballon d'Or?
Hold on, I am enjoying this here because you've already upset 3.5 billion people with the Ronaldo omission. You just holding on to your 3.5. As long as you don't get a Messi question, I think you'll be all right. But yeah, you're going well.
I'm waiting for the Messi question. I want a Messi question now. Just to even this up, I want a Messi question. Ask me a Messi question, and my answer is going to be, Messi's rubbish. Get rid of him. He's finished. It's the end.
You're going to have to move to Mars, Sid. Right.
I love how Shaka thinks there are 3.5 billion people watching this show.
I reckon
Brilliant.
I reckon the day that I arrive on Mars, right, my spaceship goes whee and lands on the surface of Mars. Right, I wind down the window, or whatever you do when you get off a spaceship. You know, I look out the window, I go down the little ramp, I set foot on Mars, go, wow, the red planet. And a little Martian comes running along and says, Messi or Ronaldo?
I don't know what's the weirdest part of that. The little Martian, or the fact that you think you have to wind down your window when you finally land on Mars. That.
Wind down a minute. Hello?
Here comes the NASA expert. Here comes the scientist. All right.
I'm just saying, Sam. You know what?
It's
You're not
true.
winding down.
I should have realised, of all the footballers in all of the world to challenge, or not to challenge, but to even bring up rocket science-related questions, it was. I had to be on with Shaq, didn't I? If I said this to Stevie Nicol, I'd have got away with it. I had to be on with Shaq the day I started talking nonsense about interplanetary travel.
Right, how do we get some...
Speaking of Stevie Nicol.
Yeah?
Let me get us back on track, and we'll use Stevie Nicol to do that, because our next question would be perfect for him. Should Sergio Ramos be contender for Ballon d'Or? Shaka?
Well, I'm going to call him a best Stevie Nicol here. That's ridiculous. For what? He scored one free kick yesterday. And we can, well, I mean... Some people would think that he shouldn't have been on the pitch, but it's foul just before it. Sergio Ramos is brilliant, but let's not get carried away.
Would you like me to upset the Sergio Ramos fans now as well?
But he's kept Stevie happy, and that's very important.
That's all that matters.
Sid, can Atalanta beat Barcelona over one leg like it'll be this August in the Champions League?
Of course they can. Absolutely they can. And that's not because Atalanta are brilliant or because Barcelona are bad, although both of those two things at the moment are broadly speaking true, obviously within the context of expectations for the two clubs. But also because once we get into this kind of mini tournament in Lisbon, although Lisbon's had a terrible outbreak of the virus over the last couple of days, so even that I suppose is in danger now. But once we get into this mini tournament, I think anything can happen. I think it's going to be a very strange, very unusual Champions League, and absolutely I think Atalanta are good enough to beat Barcelona, and absolutely I think it can happen, yeah.
All right, Shaka, bring us home. Is there any save that you pulled off by a complete fluke?
Yes. The one I remember most, and it was an important one because it was Newcastle Sunderland at St James's Park. And Sunderland had an attack, and I can't remember what happened, but the ball popped out to the top of the box, and somebody hit it. And I mean, I've made quite a few fluky saves, but this one, I didn't see when the ball popped out to the edge of the box. I didn't see when the player hit it. I did not see the ball. I just got a thump right in the middle of my face. I mean, I'm right on my goal line or thereabouts, and I don't see anything. I just get smashed in the face. And the ball stays out and it gets cleared, and I see the replay after the game. But that, of all the lucky saves I've made, was easily the most, because at least the others I saw the ball or knew it was hitting me or something. This one, I didn't know what happened until match of the day later that night.
Perfect way to wrap up Extra Time. Thanks to Sid, thanks to Shaka. We will be back on tomorrow's edition of ESPN FC. Juventus in action in Serie A as they look to cling to the top of the table.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.